so that kind of for us puts the lid on training camp, and now we move into prep for NC State this season. And I thought we had 17 really good practices, and I told our guys that. Thought they just did a tremendous job of competing in a cooperative manner. I mean, they get after it every single day. It's the first time in my career I can remember that we didn't have a training camp fight, not a single fight, and yet they competed like crazy every single day. And to me, that's a sign of maturity. It's a sign that they respect each other. It's a sign that they care about each other, and that they understand what our objectives are. I mean, doing this a long time, camps get hot, they get heated, but if you can't control yourself in that environment, it's hard to go out and perform on a Saturday. And so I love the competitive maturity of this team, and I think it's a real positive. So very, very happy with where we are. Obviously, the decision that has to be made is the quarterback position, and so Nick and I will sit down in the next 2 days, and we'll come to a decision on which way we want to go, and then we'll go 100 miles an hour that way. So, go ahead. No, I was done.
How tough have they made it? The quarterbacks made it on you to try to decide.
They've made it very tough, And this week was probably not the most ideal week for them because Joe kind of tweaked his calf a little bit and missed a little time, and then Taquan's arm was a little bit sore, and Zion's arm kind of ran out of gas a little bit, so they didn't necessarily get the work they needed. So we have to do it, and we track everything anyway, but we're just going to go back and look at everything and look at all their plays on tape and make the best decision for this team. And I think, typically you'd want it to be clearly defined, but I think in this case it's probably a positive that they're so close, because we have confidence in all of them. And we'll just make the decision we think is best for the team. And the great thing is that I know this is that whichever man gets the job, the other two, and this isn't to discount Tucker, but Tucker hasn't been able to do much, or Kale, but really it's those three is they're going to support whoever the starter is, and number two, they're going to be prepared to go in and play should they be called upon. And that's just, to me, speaks to their character.
Just curious about Kale because he had switched to safety. Is he now back to?
He's slash. Kale's a football player, So yeah, he played some safety. When Braden left, he moved back to quarterback. You see he's never in a red jersey because he's on all our special teams. I teased him today. I said, you want to go get a series on defense? He's the guy out there. Your quarterbacks are really never live. He's the guy out there, make me live. I want to be live. I think our team loves the guy, man. He's just a ball player. So having a guy like that is really good for us, just because he's so in, and he's willing to accept any role and embrace it and run with it.
Are you happy with the progress the offense has made the past 2-3 weeks?
Yes, I am. Never satisfied, but yeah, happy with the progress, because I think we have a real clear understanding of who our players are, what they're good at, where our weaknesses are. I know that Nick and that side of the ball do a great job of putting guys in position to accentuate their positives, and I feel like in the passing game we're much more competent than we ever were at any point last year, and yet we're still running the ball well. So there's a sense of confidence, I think, going into this next step that is pretty comforting.
Jim, how about the other side of the ball? You've touched on this, like the collaborative effort that you seem to really like last year, which is why it remains. Where are you with how that's all working? And
it's been great. I'm lucky to work with those three guys. They're all really good coaches. They all really care. We all have a really good working relationship. Obviously, my duties are, number one is the head coach, and then, two, working with the defense. And so if there's head coaching duties that I have to attend to, I have great confidence that those guys are going to get handled, whatever has to get handled. But I just feel like, the four of us, and you can also include the analysts and the GAs, but the four of us just work really well together. We see the game the same, but we also see it differently in a productive way. Everyone feels like they can bring ideas to the table, and then when we agree on what we want to do, we all go out of, go 100 miles an hour that way. So I like where we're at, but it's, the players are going to determine how we play on defense. It doesn't matter what defense you call, it's how they play that defense. And to me, that's what's exciting, is we've got a bunch of guys that want to be good players and they want to be part of a really good defense.
Do you guys operate as a staff any differently than you did on defense, given that you've done it together for a year now? Just a little more refined? Or?
Yeah, we just, last year was difficult. Last year was very challenging because the first 5 weeks of the season, we were basically redoing our defense. We threw the stuff that was here out. It didn't fit who we were from a personnel standpoint, and we had to kind of manage that, and there were some tough times in there. And so there was a lot of growing that took place last year between us as a staff and the team, and then this off season was really good because we were able to go back and really drill down. And some of the things that we kind of glossed over during the season because you're just trying to get a game plan in, we were able to go back and analyze. And are we doing the right things? Are we making the right decisions? Are we putting the players in the right spot? And I feel like we're so much further along now than we ever were, which we should be.
Jim, you mentioned the competitive maturity. In what other ways is the squad better organized, better prepared, better ready for the season opener than they were going into Utah a year ago?
Well, we're more healthy, and I think that's just a function of way that you got to get a little bit lucky, obviously, when you go through 17 practices like that. But I also think it's a fact that they know how to practice. They know how to get after it and be competitive and be physical without trying to hurt each other. They know how to stay on their feet. In football, injuries come a lot of times when guys are on the ground, and our guys know how to practice hard. And I don't want to compare it to an NFL team because we're not an NFL team, but we practice like NFL teams practice. Hard, physical, but we try to take care of each other. And so that's a good feeling to have because you can tell as a coach if you can always feel the intensity of a practice. And I don't think we've had one practice where I've gone, I didn't like the intensity there. I just like the way they go at it. And to me, it's a sign of a mature team. I think they take the lead of, on offense you have Christian, right? And on defense you have Jackson. They're both great players who are both really good people and great teammates and team members. And I think everyone kind of takes their cues from those guys. And that level of maturity that they demonstrate, everyone's trying to match all the time.
I feel like the team overall is kind of going to compete at a higher level than last year's team overall.
We need to. We should. That should be our expectation. That's what I expect out of these guys. That's what they expect out of themselves, is that we're going to be wildly competitive. I never make predictions on a season. Our goal is always to be 1-0 every week. So I don't know what our record's going to be, but I expect them to compete no matter what the circumstances are, whether we're up by 30 or down by 50. We should be competing because you never know what the next play holds. You never know when the play is going to happen that can decide a game. So fortunately, we have a bunch of guys that seem to understand that. I think one thing we have to get better at is understanding how to function in difficult situations. When it's a little bit chaotic or there are pressures on. Just relaxing a little bit, not getting uptight, and we've been working hard on that. To me, that's a function of mental toughness. I've said that before, as we were, I thought we had work to do in terms of being a more mentally tough football team, and I think we've made progress.
Usually in camp, there's one or two guys who came in and after camp stood out to you as someone who you weren't really expecting to raise to the level that they did. Is there one or two guys that you can name that you were really surprised in a good way with?
I would say the one that just really jumps out right when you said that, it was Cam Edwards. He jumped out to me, and it was more last week in that scrimmage, and the way he's been practicing, the toughness he showed, the way he looks physically, the way that he's matured as a young man. Last year he was, he was a freshman, he was a little flighty at times, and now he's just really locked in. He looks good, he's doing well. He's the guy that really stands out to me. Kyleesh Hicks, I think, stands out. We didn't get to see him in camp last year because he pulled his hamstring early, and then he didn't do much during the season just because it was a lingering injury, and he'd missed so much time. He was playing catch up, but he's had a good camp. I think those are probably the two that just off the top of my head stand out.
When you think back to a year ago, I remember you mentioned you were 27-point underdogs and you've never been that much in the guys. Obviously, that's not the case this year. Were you more nervous or going into the game last year than maybe you let on then? Are you more secure that you know what it's going to look like now that you've been here a year?
The problem is you never know what it's going to look like. You think you know what it's going to look like when you step on the field, and then, all hell breaks loose, essentially, in a football game. I wish I knew what it was going to look like. I feel more confident that we will react to whatever situation unfolds in front of us. I think as a football team, as a staff, we're more prepared to react in a positive way to whatever happens. I think, one of the things that I didn't do a good job of early last year was I talked too much about, handling adversity and not handling success, and essentially it's the same thing, and so we got into that game at Utah State and we jump up 14-0, and I'm not sure we knew how to handle it. And I think we know how to handle the success and the adversity, like I said, kind of being the same thing, a lot better than we did last year.
And that in and of itself is, last year you think about adversity because that's all the program had known. Now
Yeah.
it knows some success.
Yeah, I mean, we were going out to the West Coast, or close to the West Coast, to play a top 25 team, and coming off a 1-11 season with a new staff, and but that was a mistake I made that I shouldn't have made, and I just feel like we're much more equipped right now as a program to handle whatever's about to come at us, from an emotional standpoint.
Durante Jones is one of the guys we're going to speak with today. Just what's your experience been like with him thus far?
He's a maniacal competitor. Maniacal competitor. This stuff is so important to him. There's not a guy that asks more questions than that guy right there. There's not a guy that I've found that cares more about this team than that guy right there. I love coaching him. I've always had an affinity for defensive backs. It's kind of how I started. I've always loved safeties that are passionate like he is. So, that's what you want on your team. That's the kind of guy that you want to build around. I think he's made tremendous strides. And when I first met him, he was kind of coming off an injury. He was in the training room. He was kind of scrawny, and now he's like a man. And I mean, he brings it every day. You can count on him every day. His energy's never down. It's always up. If it's not up, he gets it up. He figures his way out to fake it till he makes it. And I love coaching guys like that. I've been around a lot of them, and man, he's fun. You're gonna, you guys have talked to him before, right? I mean, he's awesome. He's gonna tell you straight how it is. That's what he is. He's real.
Physical gifts?
His physical gifts is he's tough as hell. I think more than anything, what stands out to me about him, though, is like how important football is to him, how important this team is to him, how passionate he is about learning and taking the next steps. Like, he never has a day where he's not searching for a way to get better. I mean, you can't even believe some of the questions he asks. And, we joke about it sometimes as coaches, that Durante's going to have a question, and he always has a question, and he doesn't let you off the hook. Like, if you don't give him, like, a good answer, he drills down on you, always in a respectful way. You love to be around guys like that. You absolutely love to be around guys like that.
What position group has improved the most, you think?
Oh, goodness. I would say two. I would say the tight ends and the wideouts. I would say those are the two groups to me that at this point have improved the most. Losing Keelan and I'm sorry, I'm blanking right now. Huh?
Aaron Turner.
AT, yeah. Sorry, AT. If you see that, I don't mean to dish you. That was a hit, but I think that our recruiting staff and our assistant coaches did a really good job of identifying some guys that could come in and play. And then just seeing the maturity of a guy like Kylish, the way he's stepped it up. KC, having Cam back. Now he's kind of been limited at his camp, as you guys have known, because of his hamstring, but he's back to 100%. So I think that group, and then, seeing Justin Jolie take a step up, Nowinski take a step up, Nick Harris take a step up, adding Alex, Honig. I mean, he hasn't practiced in a couple weeks, but he's going to be okay. He's a really good player. Bo having another, and we're pretty deep at those positions right now. A lot more depth than we ever had last year at any point in time.
As someone who's been around football your whole life, is this time of year extra special for you? Is it like Christmas Eve? You're 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away from a game.
Nah, I mean, I just try to stay even keeled and really just focus on what we got to do next. I don't get too far down the road. It's probably because I'm so old, done it so long. It's almost the opposite of what you'd think.
Okay.
But I am excited for the season because I'm excited to see what these guys are capable of. Excited to see the progress that we've made. Sometimes you go through an off season, you go through a camp, and you think you've made progress and you really haven't. Because every team in the country right now is full of optimism and hope, and they're talking about the progress they made. Everyone's saying the same thing that I'm saying. And then you get into the season, it's like, whoa, I was wrong, or damn, I was right. So I guess maybe I'm excited to see am I right or am I fooling myself?
Coach, how do you feel about the center position? I know you floated out Christian playing there, and then looks like Chris Fortin's gotten some time in there.
Yep, and Yukari. Yeah, I think there's a lot of flexibility there because I think there's 3 guys that can perform at a high level: Chris, Christian, and Yukari. And then, so as a staff, what's important is that we put the 5 guys on the field that function the best together and give us what we want. And I think there's decisions to be made right there. A guy like Christian Haynes is so good at guard. He's an All-American guard. Do you take him out of position that he's really, really comfortable in and put him at center where he's not as comfortable, maybe it slows him down just a hair, where he's not able to be as great a player? Or do you, even if he is the best center, so you got to find the mix of the best 5. And we feel like we've got a pretty good idea, but all those things will be solidified this weekend. We got to come out on Monday when we practice again, and we have to know who our starting quarterback is, and we have to know who our 5 starting offensive linemen are, and who our 6th is, and who our 7th is. And defensively on the defensive line, it's a little bit different than the offensive line because you're going to play multiple guys, but on the offensive line, it's important to have that continuity.
Jim, will you announce the starting quarterback, or will you kind of keep it close to the vest?
I don't know. I've changed over the years. Like I used to think, we'll just keep it a secret. I'll probably announce it. If anyone, wants to know, I'm not going to not tell you. I don't know. I just think I used to be paranoid. I'm probably still am paranoid, but I used to be really paranoid. And, you're like, I'm not going to tell them the starting quarterback. I don't want their opponent to know. They find out anyway, So I think as coaches, we sometimes overreact to some of that stuff.
With social media, you can't hide anything.
You can't hide anything. No, someone's videotaping everything you do. So.